Thank you for joining us on 8 Minutes with Sean O'Neill. I'm Sean O'Neill. We just got breaking news from South Africa that the death toll due to floods in the eastern province has risen to over 100 people. With the rates of flash floods rising, the government has advised their citizens to have an escape route from their homes. There are reports that there are plans to build more levees in order to prevent future disasters. Today on 8 Minutes, we have a very special guest. Melanie Van Berg is on the bestsellers list with her new book, An Extraordinary Life, talking about her maid and the close relationship they had. It is great to have you here, Melanie.
It is good to be here, Sean.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born and raised in Cape Town and have graduated from the University of South Africa in a degree in economics.
Could you tell us what life is like in South Africa?
Well, contrary to popular belief, we do not live in the bush with lions and elephants. I would say South Africa is a thriving country. I'm very proud to be from there. Life, I'd say, is quite the same as it is here, just, different architecture. But also has huge booming metropolitans like Durban, Johannesburg, Cape Town.
Ah, so South Africa has a good economy.
Yes, South Africa is one of the largest distributors of minerals and has about 700 mines digging up 55 different kinds of rocks like gold, iron, nickel, diamonds, platinum, and uranium, just to name a few. We're also a huge exporter of agricultural products, with 13% of land used solely for cultivation. South Africa has about 10,000 different kinds of plants and animals, 12% of which nowhere else live on the planet. And it is a huge exporter of things like raw sugar, grapes, wine, black tea, sunflower products, meat, wool, and cotton.
Wow, that's great. What about the political environment there?
Yes, President Jacob Zuma was elected in 2009. He's a member of the African National Congress and is doing very well in power. There's a problem of poverty in the townships, though. Most than 50 million people do not have enough money to buy food and water. Slightly more than half of South Africans said that there were times in the past 12 months when they did not have enough money to buy food that they or their families needed. Our president has been very good, though. He has been urging people to donate food and other resources necessary for survival to needy people, and many organizations like UNICEF or WFP gather food to bring to the poor.
With the economic boom and programs to help the poor people in South Africa, where do you see the country in 20 or 30 years?
Well, I think resources will probably decline, population will rise and fall in patterns, but hopefully the African National Congress will stay in control of the elected government to ensure stability. With any luck, the average yearly income will raise from $516 to something more substantial for people to live on. There will not be any national wars, I think, but with the increase in population, street crimes will be on the rise. But in order to make it safer on the streets, the government is hiring more and more police officers.
That is great to know. So about your book, it's about your friend Philippa. I've read it and it is very good.
Thank you.
Tell us a bit about Philippa.
Well, as I mentioned in the book, she was wrongfully killed, and I miss her terribly. We were very close. I knew her since I was little, and we grew up together. I couldn't imagine not having her in my life.
It must be really hard not to have her here now.
Yes, but I can tell her story and the wonderful relationship between us.
Would you say that the fall of apartheid had to do with your relationship?
My parents taught me that we are all equal no matter what skin color, so I can proudly say that no, it had nothing to do with our relationship.
That's great. So, I know in South Africa it is somewhat typical for a maid to live with their employer. Did Philippa live with you?
Yes, she did. It was like having your best friend staying with you 24/7. She didn't always live with me, though.
Where did she live before?
In the township of Soweto.
Is that far from Cape Town?
Well, it is closer to Johannesburg, but we spoke regularly via phone.
Now, for those of you who haven't read the book, which I highly suggest you do, could you give us a brief summary on the life of Philippa?
Yes. Philippa was my very best friend. Her mother died during childbirth. She was supposed to have a brother. Her father died in the gold mining accident, but he was rarely home anyway. At 12 years old, she moved in with us, but before that she was raised by her paternal grandmother, which is pretty typical in South Africa. My mother hired her to help with the chores around the house, but in all honesty, she quickly became the sister I never had. At 18, Philippa met her husband, a police officer named Giddy, but was widowed within 2 years when he got shot responding to a robbery. We cried many tears together, and I had her move back in with me. not as a maid, but as my best friend who needed a shoulder to cry on. Violence is very easy to find in the streets of South Africa. And even though she was street smart, never staying out too late, Philippa was 23 years old when she was gunned down at a red stoplight. To this day, my heart aches. Not only did she die too soon, but she was also unjustly stolen from me. She was a devout Christian and spoke 3 languages.
What were they?
Well, she spoke English, Afrikaans, and Matabele. She excelled in school. I would have loved to see her become someone very successful.
What is Matabele?
Well, the Matabele is one of the many tribes in South Africa. Some of the more famous tribes are the Zulus, the Ndebele, and the Tswanas.
The history of South Africa is incredible, as are the many conflicts overcome by her people. Would you say that there are many parallels between that of South Africa and the US?
Actually, yes. Just like in America, British pioneers came by ship to Cape Town to rest up and resupply on their journey around Africa to trade with India. As the indigenous people had begun moving north to get away from the settlers, they discovered gold and diamonds. The British, knowing the value of such rare minerals, wanted them and thus started the 2 Boer Wars. This is similar to the American pioneers moving into the Native American lands.
Wow, that pretty much is the same thing. On to more modern times though. Who would you say is the most influential South African to date?
Nelson Mandela, for sure.
How so?
Well, he would be the equivalent of Martin Luther King here in the States. He helped bring light to the appalling conditions that Black South Africans had to live with every single day. Even after being in prison for 27 years, he never gave up the fight for equality. 4 years after being let out of prison, he was elected president, where he could really make huge changes to the lives of each of South Africa's citizens.
Incredible. And on that inspirational note, we have run out of time and need to end the show. Thank you so much for being here, Melanie.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
See you next time on 8 Minutes with Sean O'Neill. Good night.
Lusapolwa